Hell yeah, what's up,
All
dude?
right, we're back. We're back.
We're back.
So
Episode 4.
that's it,
We
episode
haven't we
four.
haven't been saying that. We haven't been saying what episode when we record.
I know we've been bad about it. I think that we should try and make sure that we line that out early, along with the caveat early about us being not experts on
Right.
anything when it comes to anything. So if you take any advice from us,
Right.
just know that you're doing it on your own accord.
We
And
should do like
we're
every other episode disclaimer, right?
That's right. That's
Just
right.
in case you forgot. We don't know anything.
Yeah, we'll make sure we keep putting that out there. But what's up, man? How you been, bro?
I've been good, dude. I just FaceTimed Will earlier, so we could just start straight off now. Let's
There it
get this
is,
popping,
baby.
bro. Last episode we brought it up and we brought him out this time. We got Lewinsky's shirt. Um shit, I should have got like a link from him. I gotta say that out loud. We already told last podcast though. Will the Futurist is his Instagram. Leo Lewinsky on Spotify if you're trying to check him out. I'm gonna actually clip our audio out for like 30 seconds, so I want you guys to be able to hear this one song.
Don't push me, I'm close to the edge, and I'm trying not to lose my head. I pray to God and I'm looking for some better days, searching for a heaven, but I know I got some hell to raise. We give a damn about the money that you didn't make. Gotta raise the stakes, so you know I had to levitate. So be quiet when the boy trying to educate. Said be quiet when the boy trying to look. I stay fresh, yes you know that I'm the best man. I roll up like Ginobili with the left hand. I'ma win the ship like I know the Nets can. But I'm game 6 bar with the headband. Took some time off just to work on the craft. Niggas be rushing me and that shit making me mad. You ain't dropping a minute, how you gon' get a bag? I'm trying to be the greatest and you worried about a fact.
So I know I said I don't want to talk about Why So Grim stuff, but I also want to update you. Like maybe I should just run
Well,
with
let's
it.
do that. But I also want to hear about. I wrote down kidney stones that I
Oh,
haven't heard
okay.
about, and you got to paint this picture for the
Okay.
people a little bit
So
too.
I just had a Zoom call with my dad and these two CPAs. So when I incorporated in 2020, I did my 2020 taxes with this company and I found the tax guy through my grandpa. So that it was kind of like a hookup. So he put in his notice and let everybody know that he's leaving this company. So I wasn't organized for my 2021 taxes. So I filed an extension and I've never met the new tax guys. So I needed an introduction. So my expense report needs to be done and like I have till like September 15th. But I just wanted to tell you, bro, is it was like the coolest thing ever. We were chopping it up. I had to re-explain my Why So Grim brand, everything I was trying to do. I was asking about trademark questions. I have some good feedback I'll talk to you about privately about just the trademarking process, like good moves, blah blah blah. Oh, you just got married, Alex? Or my son just got married too. He's on his honeymoon in Maui. I was like, say less. So I said, give me his number and I'll get him on a boat. So I got my CPA is his son's number, hit him up, and I got him on a sunset sail tomorrow night, bro. So I was like, what a fucking badass intro, making me look good with these guys.
Talk about a good
So
first
it
impression,
was
dude.
awesome, bro. It was so cool. It felt awesome and it was like super fun to like make it happen. So that was just something fun. But kidney stones. So I'm 25 years old and I'm susceptible to kidney stones. And that's something that I had for the first time in my life when I was like 21 or 22. And then it happened the next year. It happened last year. And then here it is again with me. Like, I'm going to totally be TMI. So if this is gross, sorry, guys. Literally pissing straight blood. Like, it was so bad. I've successfully passed a kidney stone one time last year and it's this fucking gnarly crystal like spiked thing coming out my dick. Like this is like not okay. Like why is this a thing? Uh Basically I have had the worst pain of my entire life and this is something that was kind of random. You know how like you and Chelsea, you've been together 2 years, right? So like you within reason are still going to see firsts, right? The first time you've seen this or whatever. So me and Josh have been together 7 years and she said she had never ever seen me throw up before. That was the first time in my entire life that I've thrown up because of pain. Like it was so bad that I was throwing up. I also have this, I'll be a little bitch again, explain. I have like a really hard time taking pills. We can talk about it another time, but literally my brother died of suffocating. So like I had a complex, like as a kid, like I had to see a shrink. It's like this crazy story, but I literally have such a hard time taking pills. So I'm like literally taking this little liquid Advil and I'm throwing it up. I'm literally throwing up the pain medication. So I'm like, I can't do this. So I had to go to the ER. So Jasmine got in the car with me. I had to wake her up. I waited for her alarm to go off. Like I rode this shit out for like 2 hours. Like I swear to God. And then when I was throwing up, I woke Jasmine up and I said, I need you to take me to the ER. Took me to the ER, pain meds come in. I'm chilling, right? But I have a urologist appointment on Thursday because it's now been 2 months and I can't pass it. It's a 4 millimeter stone, so that's considered medium size. So they're not willing to operate on it. But it's getting to the point now with even Flomex, this shit that's supposed to help largen the pathway, it's not working. Like it's not been effective. So just an update to you is I was scared as shit that on my wedding day I was gonna have kidney stone pain. So that was one of the things. Remember you were saying you were on FaceTime scrambling? I didn't have my pain meds. I had you guys get my Vans, my shoes, and my fucking hydrocodone because I was scared, that I was gonna have, so like it's been this crazy journey. I still have pain sometimes. I have to take the medicine. It makes me super drowsy. You know what I'm saying? I'm leaning over here, but I have had this horrible pain and it's still not over. So for the rest of my life, I am susceptible to kidney stones, and I have to catch this stone to give to the urologist to find out what it's made out of, to like tell me what needs to change in my diet.
That's so interesting. Yeah. And I do remember you sending the picture, and I don't know if you should put it in like the podcast.
I'm fucking putting it in the podcast.
Oh my gosh, dude, it is nasty. It looks like exactly what you think of, like a ball with like spikes all over it. And I'm just imagining
like a crystal.
I'm imagining like, peeing that out, and I think that it would be the worst thing ever.
It was horrible. The fact that I threw up was just mind blowing, so it was just interesting that in the car on the way to the other side, I have a bucket and a trash bag and I'm throwing up in the car. Like I want to fucking die. And I live on the west side of the island and we don't have a hospital on our side. So we had to go all the way to the other, to like central, like Kahului, Wailuku, just to get to the ER. And I'm like pacing in the parking lot. Like, it's like, you want to sit down, you stand up, you're bending over, you're moving, like you can't sit still because people might think it's appendicitis. The first time you ever get it, you're like looking up online, why is my lower abdomen hurting? Like if it's in the right or left side. So you have like the two ureters going down or whatever. It doesn't start up here, but you got like the two. I didn't take it out.
I don't know.
Yeah, you got the ureters, coming down. But it's not fun, dude. So drink hella water, and hopefully you guys don't have to deal with this. Sometimes I think it's supposed to be like hereditary or whatever. So thanks, mom, if she's the one that fucked me up.
Well, crazy, and I hope that ends up getting better for sure.
Crazy.
Let me tell you something even crazier. Well, maybe not even crazier, but I was at work the other day, right? And I sent you the photo the other day.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And dude, I'm there, and I'm like walking around, and someone's like, "Hey, did you hear?" I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Somebody landed at the airport with their landing gear up," and I was like, "What?" And no shit, dude, I go into like a window at work and I pull out the binoculars, and I'm over here like peeping Tom, like looking out the window, like what the fuck? And I see all these fire trucks around this plane, and lo and behold, no shit, the landing gear is up, and apparently the guy was fine, he survived, but essentially like what he did is he landed the plane on the runway and just skidded the bottom of the plane. So like it's
like a movie, bro. Just dude, sparks flying.
Swear to God. Yeah. Exactly what you're thinking of, right? The craziest part. So apparently it was like an emergency. He actually couldn't get it down. A lot of times, or I was thinking initially like, oh, what an idiot. Like, he didn't just extend his landing gear, making an assumption, classic, right? Should have just asked the question, take your own advice. Yeah. But I, after the whole thing happens, I heard that from another guy that was down there as the whole scene unfolded and the fire truck starts to roll out. There's another guy in like a little Cessna, like on the runway, and this runway is super long, right? So a lot of times you'll land on one side and you can basically get off the runway, and another person can get on after you and like take off with enough runway left to where they can like do it all safely, right?
Oh, at like the halfway point or something.
Yeah.
Still got a hole.
As this guy came in, he landed, crashed. It's like a crash landing, crash trucks are coming out, fire trucks are coming out so that the plane doesn't combust. A guy is in a little Cessna plane and pulls out in front and fucking takes off. So he just watched this guy crash his plane on the runway.
I gotta go.
Like, sorry, I don't want the runway to close down. I'm fucking out of here. And he fucking took off.
Damn.
I was like, are you kidding me, dude?
Is that like straight up etiquette? Like some aviation etiquette?
Could you imagine like seeing a car crash like that, like right next to you, and then be like, and then just fucking pulled away. It's like the dude just flipped a car, you know? It's like, you got to
That's
go over there and make
fucked.
sure that guy's okay. And lo and behold, fucking, what a dick, dude. And I could not believe that somebody would do that. It just baffles and blows my mind.
That's so funny.
I
That's
was
funny,
like,
but it's not. Yeah.
I was mad for the guy. I'm really glad he's okay, you know, but it was just something that I was like, wow, that is pretty nuts.
Yeah, and that's current events. I'll put the
Yeah, and
article link.
there,
Like
yeah,
I'll put it
there's an
on there.
article in there too. Yeah, but super, super crazy.
I wanted to circle back to your rich feedback. I had something I thought of just yesterday.
Oh yeah.
So my buddy Doran, he lives out here too. He's from Cali. He loves diving, and I was gonna go out and dive with him one time. And he does spearfishing. Well, this is just kind of a side fact, is dude, like literally every single year somebody dies here in Maui. Like there's all these middle-aged white dudes that think they're strong snorkelers. They go out, the tide fucks them up, takes them down, dude. So like you got to be kind of like a strong swimmer. Even on the other side of Maui, people do the whole hiking, hana, jumping off cliffs and stuff. Like there's Instagram pages from like Hawaii people making fun of tourists doing dumb shit. Like literally the waves are crashing, coming up, and then they go right to the edge to take a photo. That thing comes up, knocks their feet out. Like just no common sense sometimes, right? But we were hanging out, and one time I was gonna dive with him, and Jasmine was like, please don't. You're not a strong swimmer, which I'm not. You know, I'm kind of like scared of sharks and shit, so that's why I don't surf. I'm also like the vampire, right, of Maui, so I don't go out that much. But he was explaining how shitty he felt shooting a fish, and if you don't get it in the right spot, you're just literally maiming it to where like it's going to swim away and something's going to eat it. And it's just like this really horrible feeling. And it made me think of rich feedback, because he was making the argument about like the disconnect between people buying meat and like giving shit to people that hunt. And it was just this thing of like, oh, like there's such a disconnect from like where this food is coming from, you know? Like there's some freaking tragic documentaries, you know, about stuff, but like a lot of people are like, I'm not going to give up eating meat and things like that. But he was just saying the concept of like how shitty it felt for him. It feels good to like eat your own food, you know? Freaking, you want to shout out Joe Rogan and his whole mantra, right? Like all these guys out here making jerky and, you know, having meat in the freezer forever. But a little side note for you, I want to do my first hunting trip in Lanai. Like I'd love to go. You can get a permit out there and go hunting for deer or whatever. I look at it visually. There's a barrier in between the feeling that you should have versus what you have, right? Like that's kind of, you're an asshole online, you should get beat up, but you don't, right? There's the protection. You're not feeling the way that you could if you were in like a real life situation or whatever.
Right, man. Those are all interesting points. And I think I've even had that discussion with some people. One of my good friends, Nick Mombello, shout out to you. He used to do this podcast called The Core, and I keep bugging him to try and start it back up again. I'm not sure if he will or not, but he was talking about it too. Like he would go to a farm at a certain point and then purchase like a quarter cattle. And when he did it, he brought his family, and he's got 2 young kids now, 2 young boys. And they brought the whole family out so that their kids could understand what it looked like when that happened. You know, it looked like see the farm.
They're
and
watching
see
a fucking
no, they're not like slaughtering it right
butcher,
there.
yeah,
but they're
Jesus.
understanding a lot more of the process than people that are just going and buying a package of meat from the supermarket, you know. So they're understanding, they're talking to the farmer.
Real quick. You see that clip where the bus is going by and then the guy he goes up to the horse of the cow and the bus goes by and you just hear the shot and the kids scream.
Don't they do the same thing in Napoleon Dynamite? Yeah. But yeah, so like it really starts to bring you back to reality and almost back to that like hunter-gatherer culture of like what that took to make that happen back in the day. And we have, you know, hacks with genetically modified foods, and the fact that we put cattle all on a farm in the same spots that we can catch them all at once. And then, you know, it just makes it so much easier. But then people like turn their brains off to like what reality is and how it's actually happening to put that on your table.
Right.
And it is very interesting thinking about like scarcity in that way, thinking about, you know, how many people would eat the way that they currently eat if they had to like get all the food themselves that they are eating.
I think of like gluttony all of a sudden. I was thinking, how much food, food waste documentaries. That one documentary, my goodness, Seaspiracy.
Oh, dude, I saw that too. It's
tragic.
Wild. It's wild.
We like literally the emphasis is we share the ocean. So we can act like we know what we're doing and we're doing our part on our side, but it's shared. The ocean connects all of us. So like fishermen overfishing, killing things. this whole movement about save the turtles and straws and shit. Literally, it's like the fishermen's nets and like the big corporate America, right? Like all of these big companies are the ones doing all this shit, making us feel like we need to do our part. It was just this tragic, and the whales getting butchered, when they all like the water, they all round them in the shark fin soup stuff. Like, man,
Yeah.
that'll make you mad, dude.
Dude, they legit in that Seaspiracy documentary, I think the one thing that like I really took away was they said that the only way to help it now is to just completely stop fishing. They're like, just completely stop.
And even the sustainable shit was disgusting. The way that they were living in that, like, oh man. But anyways,
yeah, we can always come back to rich feedback, man. I think that's a super interesting point.
And it's cool if we build on our podcasts. Literally, I'm sitting with you, and I get a DM from my mom saying episode 3 was great, the best one we've done yet. So it's kind of cool to think that we can keep,
oh man,
trying to get better and better.
That was really nice of her. Shout out to Miss Freeman.
Oh man, I have another thing. I loved how listening to us in episode 3 talk about quality time, for me to talk about like my in-laws, and then for you to talk about Chelsea's family and how we want to be loved versus how to love or whatever. I'm like addicted to ping pong right now. I'm having so much fun up there. Like
it's because you want to be ready for the next time I come to town. That's why.
Yeah. Jade was like, "Oh, you should have got ready before Blaise took your money."
She didn't say that. No
she
way.
Said that.
She did.
Yeah. Jackson and her are both sassy as hell. I've been having so much fun playing, and I had like a moment, dude, where I was just back and forth with my mother-in-law. We're not talking. We're just playing ping pong. No communication, but we're laughing. We're having fun. Like, it was like, dang, like, I think I just found the connect. Like, I found the way to have good quality time with her. And it was just fun, and like, she'll ask me how work is. I'll ask her how she is. But like, it was fun to think that like, we're all still figuring out. I say we all, but just, relationships that you want to develop, it takes time to figure out how to get that.
When you were telling me that you're really loving ping pong, all I could imagine was just you with a paddle, like just hitting it against the wall.
The board's up.
The board's up, folded halfway, and you're just sitting there like going ham on the table. Just
there's a
like
picture
Forrest
of you.
Gump style,
There's a picture of you. Yeah.
And you're playing like Forrest Gump style, and you're playing like, I don't know, like Rocky Balboa theme music.
Yeah,
in the background.
I had the Tigers going off.
Yeah. Maybe you have 2 paddles and you're training with both hands.
Did Jackson send you a photo? Like, how do you know this?
No, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Oh man.
But it was just fun, like it was good quality time. My father-in-law was falling asleep. I'm like, Dad, you gotta come out play, man. Like, I'm gonna try to piggyback off of this and see if that's just a fun way to chop it up with him,
Yeah, it's awesome.
Playing ping pong. But how are you, man? Besides you weren't shaken or anything by that crash, right? It was just crazy to see that.
No, it's just crazy to see. And like I said, the guy survived, so that was obviously great. But no, I've been good, man. I've been really busy. Like this past week, I've done a lot more personal training as well as group training at the gym. I got back with my lacrosse client for the first time in a little while. I train I don't know if he's 15 or 16, but a youth in lacrosse, and he's incredibly driven. And the kid, honestly, he could really go anywhere he wanted with the sport because he just has so much dedication to the game. I don't know, man. Every time I finish a training session with him and another one of my buddies that I've been training on the side too, I think like I could do this, and I could want to do it for the foreseeable future. And I talk about, maybe when my Coast Guard time is up, opening a gym up and having that be the dream. I've thought about it more and more, and each passing day I'm like, man, that it might be it, to just go do that and have the ability to train young athletes and older people that are trying to reach fitness goals. And even today, dude, I had a new member of the gym finish a class with me, and she's like, I like love your style. And I'm not even one to really like love compliments, but when somebody compliments me about the way that I could train them or bring them along in their fitness journey, and that they feel like refreshed and better, and they're more mobile and they're seeing results, like to me, that's like the best thing ever. Like I'm helping somebody else along the way, and it feels so good. Like I don't care. Like if the rest of my day is shit, like that was the peak, and that was always going to be the peak no matter what. So for me, it was really, really, really nice to hear. So for those trainers out there that aren't getting that, or maybe they have a couple days or a stretch where they're not getting it, just know that it is happening behind the scenes, whether people are telling you or not. You're grinding, you're out there helping people reach goals. And that's if you're a trainer in the gym, or if you're, mentoring somebody else. Just know that people do appreciate it. They might just not say it as much. So that happened to me today. And I, like I said, wanted to share that with you as well.
Rich feedback, man.
Yeah, man. Something like it.
That's kind of interesting. Yeah. When somebody texts you, they're proud of you versus saying it, right? Just verbal.
Yeah.
Like emotion.
One other thing happened today too. So I had a buddy, who, shout out to Bryce, who's going with another one of our buddies, Carter, to swimmer school for the Coast Guard to be a rescue swimmer, kind of, straight up like Ashton Kutcher in The Guardian style, if you've ever seen the movie. But when Bryce left, he left me a slack line. So I don't know if you know what a slack line is, but it's so funny because ever since I moved to California, I start slacklining and I start drinking matcha, and I'm like concerned about things that I don't know. Maybe the state's affecting me. I have no idea.
You making fun of our people?
I tell you what, man, I don't know what's going on, but here, I'll explain it. Like a slack line is basically they take like two trees and they put almost like a ratchet strap between the two trees. And then you're supposed to like balance on it and like walk along it. And there's some crazy
shit, like at the beach or like the wire looking.
Yeah. So there's some people that are like phenomenal at it. And just so you know, like full disclosure, it's really fucking hard. So the instability,
fucking crunch your nuts.
Well, you could.
Some G-string action.
Yeah, the possibility does exist for sure. But I'll say like it's very interesting. Luckily Bryce was really good about teaching me kind of like some fundamentals of how to do it, like posture, ways that you can kind of catch yourself. But it's interesting because it's so hard that you'll start and you can't even stand up. Like you can't stand up and just stand there for like 5 seconds at a time. You're just going to fall over because you need to like find your way to get your feet under you. So, I've done it, I think 3 times as of today. And today just today walked all the way from one side of the slack line to the other and I turned around. I shit you not, I was ecstatic. Like it was so funny because I felt like I'd like conquered the world. And meanwhile, if you go online and look up videos of people slacklining, they're doing it in like a canyon, hundreds of feet up, and they're like bouncing on their butt and doing backflips. Dude, it's unreal. It's unreal. No. So me from like
sweating.
I tell you what. So me from like 3 feet off the ground of like walking all the way down and back was like my big breakthrough. Don't judge. It's
all good. Got to start somewhere.
It was phenomenal feeling just to balance my way down and back. And it's funny because we've talked before about, you and I have, privately, I'm not sure if it's ever been on the podcast yet. So correct me if I'm wrong, but talking about like being new to something and like the growth that you can have and like the amount that you can like to just be a novice. And you can see so much progression from the day that you start something. And then, being new is totally okay. And you can just take in all this information. You can learn, you can look stuff up. You can be a sponge, and then you can see your progress just really, really exponentially increase for, however long you want to put the time and effort into it. So I think it's pretty cool, after only a couple days, a couple hours of doing it, like taking that stuff in, internalizing it, and then trying it again. And I got Chelsea to do it too. So I've been busting her balls and being like, oh dude, like the girl from New Jersey is on a slack line. What the hell? Like all your friends at the shore would hate that, So it's just funny how it's been going. But like I said, that was just one other thing, a little small tidbit that I wanted to fill you in on. Yeah.
Well, another update for you, because of where I'm at financially and because of how all the like production value I want to do with YouTube is so freaking high, I've decided to like really take the next 6 months and focus on like the business fundamentals first. And what's exciting, and I'm like gonna have a lot of fun keeping you updated, because this is almost like accountability for me sometimes, like me telling you that I'm gonna wake up at 5 tomorrow. Like I like that, I could be held to that, be impeccable with your word, right?
Well, it's funny because I will for sure be awake, so I might have to text you and just.
Oh shit! There you go. I didn't think about. Yeah, you're 3 hours ahead though, so I mean, you got me.
Well, I'm up at 4:30 here most days, so I don't want to hear that.
Okay, wait, say it again.
4:30 usually. 4:30 is where my routine starts.
Oh damn! See, you leveling up before I even start. Shit. You're to the next level.
I'm not trying to make you feel bad, I swear.
No, you already did. It's cool. But it's cool because I want to focus on writing now. I really want to take a shift. I don't want to keep making excuses on like why I haven't put videos out, but like when it comes to being cost effective, right? Like writing is free, So me trying nonfiction, doing the self-help book, 15 principles, like maybe the goal is to have that published by the end of the year, right? Because I'm going to start giving myself an allowance and a budget because I never have. And me and Jocelyn are in such a good place. Like I said, I really don't want to fuck it up. I was like super transparent with those guys on the Zoom call saying like, I'm 25, I'm married. Like I want to prove to my wife that I know what I'm doing, like I'm super hard on myself anyways, just across the board. So like finding out that because I didn't file my taxes for the business and we filed our 2021 joint personal without taking that money into account, that wasn't correctly accounted for, which means I had to get my H&R Block information. I have to email that to him tomorrow with my expense report and then redo my taxes. So like I felt super insecure. I'm like, damn, like I fucked up. Like I don't know what I'm doing, like I like telling Jocelyn that felt shitty, but it's like I think that I need to prove to her that like I'm really trying to do things right. Because again, like spending all of our money. So just for updates on you, it's going to be fun to see how consistent I am with writing because I want to wake up early in the morning, probably do like video editing tutorials because I want to get there. And it's such a long process to get that kind of skill and write. So I'm probably going to start writing my first fiction book. I want to go backpacking with my buddy Doran in Kauai and get inspiration. I don't know if I'll even like say what the book's about, but
Doran's the man, dude. Shout out to him.
Hell
That's
yeah.
a cool dude.
He started his own concierge business. I won't shout it out yet until I know he's 100% ready, but he's putting in the work. He came over here. He's been showing me. I love and I cherish friends that are hustling. There's nothing wrong with people that are just content, like living life, working, like that's enough, but to have friends, like to have Will that's working in music and pursuing that, to have Doran, to have Jared, to have you, to have people like pushing and like to have Hen, you feed off of that energy. It's cool to see people pushing and, fulfilling their dreams, right? Because it takes time.
For sure, man. So we read the book. We did our homework and did the book didn't do the book. We read the book called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it essentially highlights for what I would call, principles to live by. An agreement in general is just like a universal truth or something that you choose to accept into your life and hold true and dear. And he talks a lot about, his four principles and then also how to break your own agreements that you've formed previously in your life with the four agreements that he is having you implement. And that's the kind of something that I think everybody should really think about is how you can reflect upon things that have happened in your life and then use these principles to help break down, those feelings of shame for something that you did in the past or some guilt that you have for something that you did or something that you said to somebody or et cetera, something that you took personally. So just kind of thinking about those things as we get into it. So
I did the audiobook. It took me like literally 2.5 hours was the total. So I kind of flew by. What about you? Did you like chop it up or?
I have the real book. So I just read a couple pages every few days.
I had the fake book.
Yeah. Well, you just had the audiobook.
No,
it's the cheating. It's just like listening to us bullshit,
Right. I was like laying on the couch in the morning yesterday with the earbuds in. Like I had just slept and I woke up, so I was wide awake, but I kind of was just in the zone, like listening.
My question for you is the narrator, does he sound like Don Miguel Ruiz or does it sound like somebody who's just random?
I mean, it was well done.
Okay.
It was well done.
That's
Yeah.
good.
What did you think about the beginning? It's a little like frou like.
It's a little, yeah. So I thought this the first, and this is my second or third time reading the book. So I would say definitely just be aware that you'll have to gut through the bit in the beginning. And then the four agreements obviously are great. And then I even think that the last chapter about like agreement breaking, I think is really excellent too.
One thing I put on here, it says, in your whole life, nobody has ever abused you more than you've abused yourself. And it was just crazy to think about. You could hold yourself accountable to something and like say you forgave yourself, but then not really, because it's still in your present life,
Right. So do you want to talk about what agreement that's referring to? We'll kind of go through all of them, kind of briefly hit on them, and then we can kind of get a catch up. I had a couple of topics that I know that we were supposed to hit on from the last episode too. So
Okay. Yeah. No, it's not gonna be all business. We got a little fun here
Yeah,
and
I
there.
know, man.
You know.
Yeah, I give you a homework assignment and you're over there just like, don't worry, I got it right when you walk into class. It's
He
like,
said,
geez Louise,
nerd,
man. Go back to
nerd alert.
school. Go back to school. Go back to school.
That's so funny. He was like, he pulled out the quote.
I know you went for it. You like wrote it all down. I'm over here. I've got
Fuck
it like
yeah.
written on the back of a calendar page, like in like chicken scratch that says like, oh, don't forget to talk about the 4 agreements.
Are you lying?
No, I swear. Look it.
Dude, I literally do
This
TV
is
show
a little
reviews, book
calendar
reviews.
thing, and then I have written down. These are my show notes, just written down in pencil.
Blaise, I have like an 8-page paper I did after I read my first book for like it was called Executioner. I literally did like a book report. Yeah, so that's really funny.
Oh,
Okay, I took it too far. My fault.
We're very different. No, it's good. I like being thorough. I dig it. I dig it. You can bring that, and I'll bring the chicken scratch of what we kind of think and let it roll. You know
For
what
sure.
I'm saying?
So agreement number 1 is be impeccable with your word. Just being straight up. I like that we say sayers and doers, but like this is kind of just like an ultimate accountability. This is actually something that I'm willing to like open up about a little bit. Is I thought about me hanging out with 2 of my friends that are single. It was interesting how like I would love to like go to Tommy Bahama with them and we would get fucked up and then we would like kind of bar hop and stuff. And it was interesting about like literally people joke about you going out, be like, yo, just one drink, right? Like just one drink. And it's like this total trope of like you drink one, you're gonna drink another and you're gonna have a good time, right? But Jasmine called me out on my shit. And then it was like I had to know and stay out of those situations where like I was messing up. I told her I'd be home by 10 and then I go out and then she's waiting for me, right? And it was like the same way that I wanted to hold the guys accountable, right? For the wedding, I'm over here talking about principle and shit. She hit me with the, you said you're gonna do it, be a man of your word. And it was just like, ooh, bro, like, oh, got me right, man. Like I was just at Tommy Bahama with another buddy and I was just talking about how I was like, man, like staying off the path that leads to the path. Remember, that's another principle of destruction or whatever. But being impeccable with your word and just having character or whatever is always important. But that's the first thing that hit home for me. I was like, damn, I was reminded that I felt shitty, dude. Like my wife telling me that. It was good. It was good for her to do that though.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting too that the book gives this principle as being like the most important one. It kind of lays it out, and I think it's dedicated. It has the most pages in the paper copy, and I'm sure obviously when you listen to it, it's the most content of the book is the first one. It kind of boils down to say what you mean what you say, but also being critical of how you say it, the way you say it. And even it gives the example too that I thought was really great in the book. It'll say, you know, a mom came home from work and she had a long day. The younger daughter is there and the younger daughter starts to sing. And I guess that had hit this point in the mother's life or mother's day where she was just like, stop, your singing is ugly, you know, I don't want to hear it anymore. But just because she was frustrated with work and frustrated with outside things, and just because she said that, the daughter, who was essentially a young kid, I'm assuming, which I shouldn't be doing assuming anyway, but
yeah,
say that
foreshadowing.
That's right. They say that the kid then internalizes those words and then doesn't sing for the rest of their life, whether they could sing or not, because their mother told them that at a young age. So the amount that a word like that can cut and then have effect that's happening way down the line and affecting you into your adulthood just kind of hints back to those types of things. So I'd say for me, the impeccability with your word doesn't even affect me now. I would say it affects the way that I was spoken to as a kid. So I think of like things that my parents say that stuck with me. I'm like, you know what, man, they did the best that they could. And you can't keep score. You can't hold things against them because at the end of the day, everybody is just figuring out and kids raising kids, but trying to be better than they were in that way too. It's like when the time does come to have a family or the time does come for you, like getting married, you know, taking that and being like, okay, I'm going to do the least amount of damage by being the most open to love and appreciation that I can be, and using that principle to make sure that you're not, you know, casting out or acting out because of something that happened at work or something that happened with a different relationship or something that happened with your brother or sister, whatever the situation may be. I think that's super important. I think it's just making sure that your conversation is pointed and you're being effective in your communication.
That was deep as fuck, bro. Because it's being mindful of like what you're saying, right? Like, it's so cool that you brought that up because I was just with my brother-in-law Jared, and he has a daughter, right? So this is my niece Ayla, and like being out there playing with her hugging me, like this love that I'm having for my niece. It's like looking at him. I brought this exact thing up. Was like, right, the little girl, she's annoying her mom. Her mom says something. She almost like forms a complex, gets shy, things like that. And I was looking at him, and I was like, how crazy is it to think that like um what other people say to Ayla, like your daughter, could affect her, right? I think of like you're trusting people with teachers, you're trusting people with coaches, you're trusting people to like be with your kids. But like if you dead ass will take parenting like so serious, you know? And like listening to you say that super encouraging because it's like before I got married, I genuinely wanted my relationship to feel different. I'm like, this is my girlfriend and now it's going to be my wife. Like that should mean something, right? We had lived together before, like we had already checked a bunch of boxes, but I wanted to kind of level up. So like reading books and like kind of getting into the right mindset. I'm like, there's so much information out there from previous dads, you know, like if you got people that are willing to open up about how they messed up, it's like really cool to think that being mindful of parenting, right? It's that like, hey, I'm going to come home, I'm stressed, but I don't want to hurt my kid. It's cool to think ahead like that. That's crazy important how you respond to your kids and how you uplift your kids.
And I even, I can even open up about this a little bit too. My parents, and I've had the conversation recently with my mother, that when I was home, that I felt when I was growing up, and this probably was not the case from their opinion, but from my side of the coin, I was under the impression that they had somewhat of a God complex, to where they were like, they could do no wrong. Everything they said went. They gave me the reason of, I told you so, do it because I told you so and not because. And then after the fact, and they've told me now in my adulthood that they made plenty of mistakes. And it's interesting that in my childhood, I don't ever remember them coming to me, telling me that they made a mistake and apologizing for the mistake in that way.
Oh, fuck.
So I had formed this idea that, my parents could do no wrong. And in reality, as I'm growing up, I'm seeing that they did plenty of wrong, just like everybody does plenty of wrong. I do plenty of wrong every day. But the fact that you owning that, I think just really speaks to like your character and your ability to bring somebody up into the healthy environment. And I'm super thankful for the way I was brought up in the world and everything else. I mean, my parents really did do the best of what they had. They gave my brother and I all the tools we could have to succeed. But I would say something that I've taken from my upbringing is that I don't want to do the same thing in that way. I don't want a kid that I have to be feeling later on down the line that their parents were just like, oh, just do it because I told you so. Or, if I mess up, and then tell them why I made the decision, so you can start to build some rational thinking from an early age. I think it's just super important for people's development in general. So
no, for
not to get too deep on the,
but no, that was
first one, but
damn, bro.
say, yeah, it's definitely something that I've thought about recently. And like I said, I had the discussion with my mother about not too long ago, and she kind of, gave me the we were kids raising kids discussion, which I empathize and understand, because I'm 27 years old now, and my parents already had my brother, and my parents were both already divorced at this point. They're remarried to each other. My dad had a daughter with his ex-wife, and my brother was already around and I was on the way. So there's, lots of life happening in at a very young age. And for me personally, I'm like, I would like to think that if for some reason I did have a child now, I'd be ready for it, but I don't think so at this point, and they had already done so much. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there too, before we move on to agreement number 2. Yeah, go ahead. Agreement number 2, hit it.
All right. Agreement number 2 was don't take anything personal.
Oh, dude, this one for me was huge. So it's interesting. The first one gets a lot of word credit in the book. There's a lot written about it. But this one, I think, for me personally, is something that I always need to check myself. And I find a really hard time doing that. So I'm a super empathetic person by nature. I really, really try to put myself in other people's shoes, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, in my relationship, in my friendships. And I think that sometimes doing that, I can be in a position where I end up taking stuff personally when people say or do things, whether it's about me or not. And the book really talks about like turning your brain off completely to why people act in the way that they do. So it's interesting, you say somebody lashes out, and even in the book, they give the most extreme example of somebody like puts a gun to your head and pulls the trigger. And that's not your fault. And it's not something that you can, take on yourself. It's not like a grievance that you should have. It's not something that you should take personally because they did. It's something that they did based on their own life's experiences, where they are in their headspace and their own projection of the way that they've seen life over the course of X amount of years. So it's really interesting to me, when I want to have an emotional reaction to something, I'm like, you know what? After I read the book, especially, I'm much more better about it because it's fresher in my head. So I'm like, oh, dude, just don't take it personal, man. Like, they might have had a hard day. They might have, even the way people meet you, you think about like first impressions. Mm-hmm. Someone might have a really bad first impression of you because the first time that you met them, you were either detached, maybe you were going through a hard time. Maybe you're going through a breakup. Maybe your good friend or family member just passed away and you met somebody at a funeral and they got a really bad idea of who you are. And it's interesting to know that, you can't take any of that type of stuff personal. You can't have that attachment to that. And it's interesting that those first two agreements even get paired up. So being impeccable with your word and not taking things personally, you can't expect everybody else to be impeccable with their word, because if that were the case, then maybe the second agreement wouldn't need to happen,
Right. No, the way that I look at that one too is like, something that me and Jasmine in our relationship have navigated through is that, and all due respect to her, right? I don't think she'll have any problem with me saying this, is like, she's highly irritable, right? Like she gets annoyed pretty easy, and like, I felt like for the longest time, like we've been together 7 years, and probably within the last like 6-8 months, I've like really just understood to like, if she was in a bad mood, I could make it about me, right? Like I can't just let her be in a bad mood and I would take it personal and I'd be like, now you've annoyed me, so now that's one more thing that she's had to worry about. Is that like my selfish like reasoning is like, hey, if you're going to be around, like I don't want to spend time with you right now if you're annoyed. But it's like she's not necessarily projecting that on me, but by me feeling some type of way about it, I make it that way. So that's something that like she's thanked me on being patient with her. So like there's this well-rounded circle that's, it's come back full circle to be like, dang, like me understanding that it has nothing to do with me, not making it about me, and just letting her do her thing has positively impacted our relationship. So,
yeah, which is
it's
interesting
just
too,
cool
because
to
you can't always be the knight in shining armor, right? You can't always be the person to fix everything. And we've talked about that before too, like wanting to be a fixer, whether that's a male complex or just a general complex for people all over the world.
I gotta tell you this real quick because I thought of it. Ping pong. Last night we were playing, and literally she was hot because Lahaina is super hot right now. Maui's hot as shit. So we're up there and she's sweating, and I literally am like, why are you being no fun to play with? Like, what's up? And literally it was just, she was annoyed at being hot. And like, I was slipping up, like, like, what the hell? Like, where's this? Get this energy away. Like, I'm fucking sweating too, whatever. We're having a good time. So it's just really funny that I'm over here eating my words, because last night I'm like, you're killing my vibe, yo.
Well, it's tough. You just can't take it personal, man. It's not about you.
Yeah, little bitch. Sorry.
It's not about you. The world doesn't.
Talk about me.
That's right. You got to clarify.
I'm being a little bit. Yeah.
It's funny that even the author Don Miguel Ruiz says like the world doesn't revolve around you. So detaching that, and honestly, that's pretty much everybody's brought up that way. The world revolves around you. You're always going to feel like you're the most important, but at the end of the day, it's not about you. So be a standby character, not the main character,
Yeah, supporting role.
That's right.
Supporting cast.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. You start with 3.
Don't make assumptions. Let's just rewind a little bit to podcast episode number 3 about me over here assuming that I was being discriminated against. That stupid ass story of like me getting all worked up. If you didn't listen to it, basically, I made this pretty complicated assumption. I guess there's more context than I really want to explain, but it was just something where I felt was one way, and I was wrong. And I spent a lot of energy and a lot of time complaining and, being a bitch about it. And it wasn't it wasn't the case at all. Sometimes I even think of this, bro, being left on red. Like, we talked about rich feedback and stuff. It's interesting too how, like, for me, like, some people are just really bad at texting. And it's like, for me to like say something to them and they leave it on red, or like they don't respond. I don't know why that's like something, like, it's not that they don't fucking like me or they don't want to talk to me. They're just like really bad at texting, or they're busy as shit too. Like, some people are just like that.
I think that's one of the best examples of it. So I have a friend who was talking to somebody. I guess they were like into them and they're like texting back and forth with them. And they're like, oh yeah,
Oh
I
no,
would
yeah,
love,
reading into like,
and they're and reading into the fact that
oh
nothing was
shit,
said,
right, right,
like
right,
there
right.
goes, 3 or 4 hours without it. And they're like, oh, what do they think of me now? Maybe they're not responding, blah, blah, blah. And
That's a perfect, yeah.
or they like blow up the phone after that. And then hours later,
Ooh,
they're like, hey, dude, sorry, I was at work and I
yeah.
left my phone at home, like
The double text, the triple
exactly.
text.
But it could just be something that's that simple. So asking the question is just super important. So some of that's just being inquisitive. The other thing is take all of your predetermined bias of experiences you've had, people you've known, or whatever out of the equation, and just ask the question. Don't be afraid to do that. And I think
Right.
that it's really nice and refreshing when you get somebody that you sees you in a unique situation, or you meet somebody in a unique situation. You just ask them like, hey, is that something that you were intending to do? Or, hey, I felt this way about what you said. Is this how you meant it? Or, hey, why didn't you text me back? It could be that easy. Why'd you leave me on red? Why'd you do X, Y, Z? And you
Right.
can really get to the bottom of things. And honestly, it just creates more clear communication between people.
Right. No, for real. That's funny. I'm like thinking about the dating space. I never even thought of that, dude. I haven't like, I'm like, thank God I'm not in that dating phase anymore.
Right, agreement 4, man.
Okay.
This
Agreement
might
number
be
4.
this might be the easiest one.
Yeah. Always do your best, man.
So my take on this one, and sorry to butt in, but I wanted to
No.
make sure I got it out before I forgot, is that it's interesting that the author talks about doing your best, but they also hint on assuming that other people are always doing their best.
Oh my gosh.
So this is something that to me is really, really tough to do, because I have really high expectations of the people that I care about. And when I have those high expectations, I'm making an assumption, number one, of what they can do to perform, whether that's, giving love, whether that's performing a task, whatever the case may be. I have really high expectations. So when they fall short, whether that's because they didn't sleep or whatever, I don't ask the question of why it happened. And then I'm assuming that they just half-assed the thing that they were supposed to be doing, whether that's, we're going out to do something together and I was supposed to pack this and this, and then, my buddy is supposed to pack this and this, and they forgot all their stuff. And I'm just like, dude, what the hell? And they're like, oh, well, you blah, blah, blah. But they, in that day, in that moment, in that point of time, they performed the best that they could. They did all those things. And the way that you don't hold on to resentment is by just letting that be a blanket assumption. And you know what? Your best doesn't look the same day to day. It's a great parallel as the gym space. I'm a super into fitness and I've been for a long time. And there's days where you're going to go in there and you're going to feel like you can pick up a truck. You can go in there and pick up a Mack truck and you are like Superman one day. And then one day you might go in there and just be going in there because you need to keep a good habit, or you need to just go in and stretch all day. And that's fine too. But and that could be the best that you have on that day of the week. And then the next day you could go in there and whatever your drug of choice is, for the gym in that way. Maybe you're a bench press guy, or maybe you're a deadlift guy. And then you're like, okay, I'm just going to go in and stretch today because my body can't take it. And tomorrow I'm going to do my best and see what I can do. So I think it's interesting. And, assuming that other people do your best, it just really helps you not hold on to any sort of resentment moving forward. And you've talked about it too. It's like, it's not about keeping score. It's not about keeping score with people that you love. It's not about keeping score with people that you care about. It's about making sure that you aren't holding on to those things, because really it's just messing with you. The other person might not be thinking about it at all.
I was a nerd on this one too, right? I took notes. So it said, you can have many great ideas in your head, but what makes the difference is the action. Without action upon an idea, there will be no manifestation, no result, and no reward. And it was just thinking about me and my overwhelming list of things that I want to do. My dad has always told me, focus on one thing and do it. You know, we talk about like executing, right? Like that was the idea of sayers and doers in the sense of, hey, everybody's like, we should start a podcast. Well, who's going to pull the trigger right away, make the time for it? We've been doing it 5 weeks in a row and we're just going to keep going, right? Like you need some sort of discipline. And it kind of made me check myself a little bit too, because I make a lot of excuses on why I can't do certain things when it comes to this creative world. So once we're done reviewing this, I got some really cool life updates for you. And just getting the ball rolling has felt really good. And I feel like I'm doing my best, you know, like I genuinely feel like I'm doing my best. And life is really good right now. And it kind of scares me because I've been through a lot of shit, right? There's been a lot of ups and downs. So I'm like, damn, like I'm going to keep riding this wave of like, life's really good. I was just on FaceTime with Will and I was just talking about like, work is doing all right, man. Like last week I was giving you a lot of the hardships or whatever, but like just getting the routine down, trying to get a flow going. My relationship with Jasmine's great. We were talking about money's good right now. So I really don't want to fuck it up, you know? So it was just cool. It was cool to like get challenged again to like get back to waking up at 5. You know, I'm not doing this hard grind of go to bed at 10:30, be up at 5 to 6. Remember you're talking about itemizing my day?
Yeah.
I literally had jokes in my head because I used to wake up at 5. I'd have 5 till 7. I'd have to be in the shower before Jocelyn's alarm goes off. I take her to work. I have from 7:30 to 9 to work at Starbucks. I start work at 9. I get off at 4. She gets off at 5:30. So I have another hour and a half where I can work on stuff. I pick her up. I take her home. So like, it was funny. I missed that. That was like the best version of myself when it came to productivity. And like, I always kind of felt encouraged by you because you were explaining this crazy schedule and you talk about like doing a podcast at 8 o'clock at night is, you know, it's getting late. It's time for bed. Like you're willing to go to bed to get up, right? Like I say I want to do stuff, but I haven't been getting up in the morning and doing it. Like I haven't been like maximizing my time. So I don't feel like I'm doing my best in that. So I'm glad that we read this book and I felt challenged to tomorrow is my Monday, right? Everybody likes to start on a Monday.
There you go.
So I'm very excited.
Diet starts tomorrow, right? That's how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to smoke anymore starting tomorrow.
Right.
If you had 1 week left, what would we do? Would we suffer because we're going to die and we tell everybody poor me? Or do we spend every moment happy and enjoying the time that we have left? And it was crazy to think about, like, sometimes, I mean, I'll be real with you, like, even kind of lately, I think about it, like, I have so much I'm doing. I'm so ambitious. I have all these dreams or whatever. But then I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow. Like, that's like those deep intrinsic thoughts, you know, like I didn't want to get morbid last time, but like, that's something with mortality. I have Memento Mori tattooed on me. It literally means remember that you'll die in Latin, right? Like it's the reflecting on mortality, whatever, you know, and it might be stoner late night thoughts, but it's just crazy to think, you know, it's like we really don't know how much time we have. So it was amazing to think again, just fucking kicking the pants to like enjoy your life, you know, like work on things, like enjoy your relationship. It like makes me sad to think I'm away from my parents and that, you know, you think about your grandparents, if you visit them once or twice, you ever see that? I saw this clip, somebody, I don't know if it was a podcast, but it was like, if you see your grandparents once a year, how old are they? What's the average life expectancy of an older person nowadays? He's like, do you have like 6 or 7 visits left? You know what I mean? And it's like this crazy deep thought of like, fuck, dude, if I live in Maui, my parents in LA, if I see them twice a year and I just, you know what I mean? Like I miss being around my family, you know, especially my parents, you know, I don't have a close family, but not to get again too off. It was just really crazy to think about life, man, and just appreciating what we got, dude. I'm happy we woke up today, bro.
Yeah, man. So I guess kind of spinning off of that, I think it kind of ties into the whole like carpe diem, make sure you're seizing the day, make sure that you're living your life the way that you want to and the way that you love to. And I'll say like, I think because of those things you said, and because of the way that I've been brought up and the qualities and things that I care about, I'm a huge quality time person. So that's like my love language is like 100% quality time. Like it doesn't matter to me if you like give me a hug, but it will matter for sure if you're showing up and coming to hang out and we're getting to spend time together. So for me, I think that's super big. And not to get too morbid again, but I was at school at one point and I have talked about it briefly before, but I went to the Coast Guard Academy in Connecticut. And when I was there, I had this professor that ended up getting out of the Coast Guard and he decided to go work for Tesla. And it's interesting because the school, and I'd say probably most military institutions with all the instructors there, they kind of push you in the direction of like, stay in the Coast Guard, get as high as you can, you know, be an admiral, be the commandant is like the number one guy or gal, actually right now is a first female commandant that just got promoted in the Coast Guard to fill that position, which is great. Yeah, it's amazing.
Right. Shout out.
I know.
Holding it down, females. You got this.
Yeah, it's great. So, but at the end of the day, he decided to come back and talk to us about his experience at Tesla and how his academy time, Coast Guard academy time, and military officer time in the Coast Guard has helped him be, I guess, successful in the Tesla world and corporate America. So he gets to the end of his speech and he talks about all of this stuff and he's working on the Model 3 and safety and all these things. And he gives this whole PowerPoint and he opens up for questions at the end. And I was sitting there and I was debating whether I wanted to ask the question or not, because I know it's something that's difficult to do in front of my peers and then in front of the instructors that have kind of pushed us in this way to stay in the Coast Guard as long as possible. But I kind of got up and swallowed my pride and was like, hey, his name was Sean. Say, hey, Sean, like, why did you decide to get out of the Coast Guard? Like, what, like, we're here, we're conditioned to like try and stay in as long as possible because this is the way that you make money and make an impact and all this stuff. So why did you get out? And he told me in a group of about 120 engineers at the time that he got out of the Coast Guard because he felt in his heart of hearts that he couldn't lie on his deathbed knowing that he stayed in and missed an opportunity to be on the cutting edge of making a difference in the world. And he felt like he could do that at Tesla. So he felt that like he could make the biggest impact that he could make, like with his qualities and his knowledge and his mind, because he was a brilliant person, that he could, help the world the most by being like working with Tesla and taking the opportunity and getting out of the military. And for me, that like has really resonated with me. And I don't know if he'll ever know how much it has, but when I'm making big decisions in my life or whether I'm going to take this chance or whether I'm going to do this thing, I always think back to that. I always think of like, when I'm lying on my deathbed, am I going to be like, I did my best to leave the world better than I found it? Did I make an impact on somebody, whether that's a kid I coach or somebody that maybe gets pulled out of the water and saved off of a sinking boat, whatever the case may be. I just want to make sure that that's something that I do moving forward too. So sorry to get morbid again on you with that one, but
well, you gotta apologize to me. I keep thinking about people listening. Yeah, that's crazy, bro. Yeah, it's life's a gift, man. Like I didn't know this guy too intimately, right? Like he was just a friend of multiple people in my friend group in college. His name was Nathan, man, and he was part of like the Virginia Beach crew that went to the college I went to. And it was like a good friend to my buddy Kevin and my old buddy Alvin. And he like died in a car accident, bro. And it was like just so crazy to think that he was gone, And it's crazy too to think about, like, you heard the thing, don't only give flowers after they're gone, or it's something like that. What's the saying? You only get your flowers when you're gone. You think about even just the I think about rappers, I think about hip hop, everybody receives love after the fact, people are ODing, people are dying, like people don't feel the love until after. And it's really sad,
Who says it? Is it Diddy that says, love me while I'm here?
Shit, that's true, man.
I'm pretty sure it's in one of his songs. I'm going to feel really bad if it wasn't him that said it.
But... Well, I'll edit it out if you're wrong. I got
All right, word.
But it's crazy, like here, remember we were talking about like a challenge of the episode, fucking call your bros, right? Text your homies saying like you appreciate them, you love them. Like if they need you, you're there for them. I think it's crazy that like when I'm not in a good place emotionally or like mentally, I shut off and I don't reach out to people. But then when I am good, then I want to reach out to people. It's like we gotta feed each other's fires, It's like, yo, I'm doing good right now. How are you doing? Like now I'm in a place to ask you, because if you ask me, I wouldn't call you because I don't want you to ask me. Right. Like if you're not up, you're not doing well, why the fuck are you gonna call the homies to talk about like negative things unless you're willing to, which is good. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like that's pretty normal to be like off the grid when like you don't want people knowing what's up. So it's just crazy. Again, just life is a gift, and like it's crazy to think that like we're doing the best we can with the time that we have, So I wouldn't want to focus on the negative if that, if we got the news that we had a week left. It would be crazy to like you'd be shaken to the core, right? Like you'd live life more than ever. Every sandwich would be amazing. Every
Yeah.
every sunset would be beautiful. You know, it's like crazy, man. Like
Yeah.
it's
What are we thinking for the next episode?
I think we should. I actually even made this joke to Kyle. I was like, it's so fun doing the podcast with Blaise. He's been like putting in work, asking good questions, and I'm on the spot. And I'm like, so far I've been like 2 for 2 or 3 for 3 on like having a good answer. I was like, I wonder how many of those I have, because like I think it would be nice to have an answer ahead of time. But I feel like I've done pretty good so far because I haven't hit you with the. So I've been thinking, man, I've been reading this like you've been putting more effort into that than I have. So
Well, that's just because I listen to other smart people talk. It's not because I'm actually smart myself.
hey,
So.
I don't sell you short, bro. Whatever you're doing, you're doing. I'm doing my best to answer. And
Yeah.
it's
Well, let's do that. I'll try and like listen to a couple like podcasts and see if I can get some notes out and like topics that we can hit, and then you do the same or think about some questions, and we'll just freelance it whenever we can.
we'll figure it out, bro.
All right, man. See ya. I'm
All
gonna
right,
go
well,
eat.
much love. Peace out, homie.
Later.